Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. To help keep this podcast free for you, we're partnering with Stoke Seeds. The 2017 Gardening Guide catalogs are hitting mailboxes everywhere. Request your catalog today online at stokeseeds.com or view virtual catalogs online. This fully secure site makes it easy to order your free catalog or your seeds or gardening accessories. More than just a listing of vegetable and flower seeds, Stoke Seeds' website is a complete resource center with valuable information on starting seeds, planting, and harvesting, plus all the gardening accessories you need to make your garden the envy of the neighborhood. Get growing with Stokes. We'll have more from Stoke Seeds in the next few weeks. Right now, today's question. And we did get several email questions this week to our website, planttalkradio.com. And Gary, Carol wrote in from Brunswick. I guess that's up around the Cleveland area. And she says, how do I get my hydrangea to bloom? It was blooming when I bought it, but it hasn't bloomed the last 2 seasons, and I have not pruned it.
Okay. Well, Carol, one thing, when a lot of plants are in bloom when you buy them because the growers have given them just perfect conditions, if you can imagine, out in the field or in their nursery environment, everything is controlled. So the good thing is you've got a great plant to begin with. You know what color the flower is. You know it's a good, healthy plant. And there are a couple of things. One, depending on the type, is the main thing. There are actually now just ever-blooming or reblooming hydrangeas, and you really don't need to prune, and they will just rebloom. So if that's the case, you also, in any case, would look at the conditions. And it's a little bit tricky with hydrangeas. Not full hot sun in the summer, but not too much shade either. So you've got to find that right spot where they get at least half a day, preferably probably 6 hours of filtered sun or sun. But again, not the hottest part of the day. So enough light might be a factor if we've got too much shade there. It may be simply the roots are doing really well and getting established. When a plant's sort of happy, I would call it that way, it's just going to grow. It doesn't really have a big incentive to bloom, and it's just growing lots of foliage. The thing that can help with that, one is patience. The other is back off on any fertilizing. Maybe even skip the fertilizing for one spring and see if that helps with the blooming. If you're doing a lot of fertilizing, you're pushing foliage growth and not the blooming. When we get in winter can kill the flower buds, so that's another factor. There are some factors there. And then you get down to the pruning. If when you purchase it, or if you research the name, if you have the name of the actual hydrangea, if it's an early summer blooming, you prune right after it finishes blooming. That's the only time you can really safely prune it and still get the flowering. So if it's an early summer, late spring bloomer, prune it right after the flowering. If it's a late summer bloomer, you can prune that in the spring. And I'd still be selective. If the plant is not out of control and it fits your space, you don't need to do a lot of heavy pruning. But if you do, that's the 2 factors. Early blooming, prune right after the flowering. If it's a late bloomer, like a oak leaf hydrangea and some of the others, you can do some selective pruning in the spring. But I suspect it's more environmental conditions, either light or just the plant's getting a lot of fertilizer and is just sort of growing more foliage than flowers. So this year, can be different. This year with some of the changes in fertilizing and light, you should be able to get it to bloom.
Now, obviously, with natural conditions, you can't always control moisture, but what does moisture play a part in that as well?
Yeah, it can. My feeling is if it's in a very wet site, very soggy, that would not help in terms of the blooming. But generally, hydrangeas, they need a good amount of watering, especially in the summer. You'll notice the leaves droop down when they need water. So they're a thirsty plant, we call them many times, for 2 reasons. Fairly large leaves, and then when they are in bloom, those flowers kind of let a lot of water out. If you ever use them as a house plant or a cut flower, you'll see that they suck up a lot of water. So they are kind of a heavy waterer.
And I guess my question would be, how long do you stay patient? I mean, if it hasn't bloomed in 2 seasons, how many would you wait before you're thinking about maybe a new one?
Yeah, I think this year is probably kind of that time frame. Give it this 3rd year, and rather than, I would look at the location. Then it would still be fairly easy to move that plant and maybe get it a little more light, or a little bit different position. Sort of get a southwestish facing, southeast, And again, the plant's also adapting, and we have another question that's very similar later, I think. It's adapting from the nursery conditions to your home conditions. And I think a couple of years is okay for that. I would definitely be looking for some progress this year.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the podcast. Remember, your 2017 Gardening Guide catalogs are available now. If you want one delivered to your home, go to stokeseeds.com. For the best selection of vegetable, flower, and herb seeds available, go to stokeseeds.com. Cultivating successful growers for generations.